v. Sullivan, which was a standard, and the Pentagon Papers case, which are two standards where stolen documents were published by the press, by the New York Times, and they had a right to do so. Now, if Trump's lawyers are out arguing for that, and then this recent article today, WikiLeaks is saying that basically the grand jury proceedings are over, and the State Department on Iran put out a similar statement about how the United States government supports the right of free speech of the Iranian people. And when you've got these kind of statements coming out from the Trump administration, I think it's a clear signal, a kind of wink-wink signal to Assange that basically the green lights are being given and that Assange is going to be allowed to leave London and possibly even come to the United States, maybe with a Trump pardon. I think that's in the works.
Julian Assange, to give us the latest information on Trump clearing the way in multiple court hearings to pardon Assange or allow Assange to return to the United States, is now taking place. And joining us is Dr. Jerome Corsi, the D.C. news director for Infowars.com. Follow him on Twitter at Jerome_Corsi to give us the latest. Dr. Corsi, thanks for coming on.
Alex, great to be back with you. Thank you very much.
So you can encapsulate it. This is pretty big, just like you broke the Arpaio deal and engineered that. Tell us what's happening.
Well, we've had a series of steps here by the Trump administration. First of all, this week we noticed arguing in Roger Stone's case where he was basically being charged with Russian collusion. The Trump lawyers argued that Julian Assange had a right to publish all the stolen emails under New York Times v. Sullivan, which was a standard, and the Pentagon Papers case, which are two standards where stolen documents were published by the press, by the New York Times, and they had a right to do so. Now, if Trump's lawyers are out arguing for that, and then this recent article today, WikiLeaks is saying that basically the grand jury proceedings are over, and the State Department on Iran put out a similar statement about how the United States government supports the right of free speech of the Iranian people. And when you've got these kind of statements coming out from the Trump administration, I think it's a clear signal, a kind of wink-wink signal to Assange that basically the green lights are being given and that Assange is going to be allowed to leave London and possibly even come to the United States, maybe with a Trump pardon. I think that's in the works.
Continue, please.
Well, you put it together with things that are happening internationally. I mean, first of all, we've been reporting very seriously on this QAnon, who started reposting today, by the way, and QAnon made it clear in a post on Christmas that essentially there was going to be an operational plan to get Assange out of London over the 5th and 6th of January, which is this week. You've had Sweden has dropped criminal charges against Julian Assange, and you've also had the basic announcement in the UK on a tribunal that Assange's media.
So he needs to move while everything's been cleared before new stuff from Deep State pops up.
Yeah, and I think that these are a series of events that have occurred in sequence, which to me make it pretty clear that, you know, one after the other, the path is being opened for Assange to lead.
For a limited time at InfoWarsStore.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to You Are Free TV, and we've got so much to report on, so I'm just going to jump right in. Julian Assange tweeted out yesterday, I think, that the net worth of Donald J. Trump before taking office was $4.5 billion. The net worth of him now is $3.5 billion. So he has gone down in $1 billion worth of his own money in the last year since taking office. Okay. Then, if we look at Hillary Clinton, this is all from Julian Assange's tweets. Hillary Clinton went into, well, the Clintons went into office back, when Bill Clinton went into office. They were only worth $450,000, okay, and now they're worth $100 million, okay. And then you look at Barack Obama. Before he went into office, he was worth $3 million. Now he's worth $30 million. Julian Assange said very telling, isn't it? And yes, it is very telling. And the reason it's very telling is that we can see who's using their office to make monetary gain on a large, massive scale, and who is going into office actually serving the office and using their money to support what we're seeing go on right now. And I think it's very likely it will come out in the future that one of the reasons we're not able to do a forensic audit on Trump is that he has been using his own personal funds to fund some of this deep state takedown. And we already know that he has also foregone his salary as U.S. president. So that is very telling right there.
New reports tonight that President Trump's legal team is weighing options for a possible interview between the president and special counsel Robert Mueller. And Bruce Orr, the man removed from the investigation, has now been let go from his final last remaining post at the DOJ. There is so much to cover in this story tonight. Here now, House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy, who also sits on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, great to see you as always. Thank you for being here tonight. So I wanted to get through a few of these, and I know this one has just come to our attention. This has just been reported by The Hill, and it has to do with two people I know you're very interested in terms of learning more about Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, who were involved in the investigation, then were removed from it. This article in The Hill suggests that their text messages that have just been released suggest that they may have been leaking stories to different newspapers. That's sort of what we see here. He says in this one, she says the article is out, but hidden behind paywall, so can't read it. He responds, WSJ? Question mark. Boy, that was fast. Should I find it, in quotes, and tell the team? Just going through this initially, but your thoughts as you hear that.
Well, one of the lines of questioning that we have for the FBI agents we've talked to so far is who within the Bureau is authorized to talk to the media, because I can't speak for the Clinton investigation, but I can tell you with respect to the investigation into the Trump campaign, we have serious concerns about people with the Bureau talking to various media outlets that weren't authorized to speak on behalf of the Bureau. So I'd love to tell you I'm surprised that someone at the FBI may have been leaking, but I'm not. I mean,
James Comey admitted under oath and testimony that he did the exact same thing.
He did when he wanted to spur special counsel for Trump. When Loretta Lynch told him to call it a matter, not an investigation, we didn't hear a peep out of him.
Yeah, very true. Your committee now has the Fusion GPS financial documents that you've been wanting for some time. Have you had a chance to go through them?
I have not, but one of the investigators has. And, you know, Martha, I think it is so bitterly ironic to me that Fusion GPS wanted us to rely on quintuple hearsay from Russian sources that nobody knows. They wanted us to base a presidential vote on that, but they went to court to keep us from finding out who paid them and who they were paying. So thankfully the court ruled the right way. It wasn't even a close question. We've got the documents, and we're going to know who they paid and who paid them. Yeah,
and they, as you say, they very much did not want you to have that information.
Very
I know
much.
that you can't divulge anything from all that. It's still, under your investigation. So we'll keep on top of that as we go forward. In terms of Steve Bannon, all that's come out in this Michael Wolff book and his suggestions about potentially treasonous behavior as part of the meeting that happened in June of 2016 at Trump Tower. Are you going to want to speak with him as part of this?
Yes, ma'am. Treason's a really big word. In fact, it's the only crime I'm aware of for which you can be put to death without actually taking a life during the commission of the crime. So I really can't think of a more serious word than treason. And if you're going to allege that somebody committed a treasonous act and you weren't even on the campaign at the time that meeting took place, then, yeah, I'm going to want to ask you some questions about it.
In terms of the president's potential sit-down with Robert Mueller, is that an interview that you expect will happen in real time? They'll sit face-to-face? Do you think it's going to be on video or in submitted questions? What's your estimation?
Submitted questions is not a great way to exchange information. There is no substitute, Martha, for what you and I are doing right now. Examination, cross-examination, testing, probing. That's what happens in courtrooms all across America. It's good enough for all the rest of us. if President Trump is going to be interviewed by Bob Mueller or by an FBI agent, there is no substitute for a sit-down, eyeball to eyeball, where you can judge demeanor and voice inflection. There's no question about what the question was or what the answer was. That's the single best way to exchange information.
Before I let you go, you made some pretty strong statements about Adam Schiff, your counterpart on the Intel Committee, saying that he had jumped to conclusions on Trump collusion with Russia when he hadn't even looked at any of the evidence yet, and that you think he's using that position for political purposes to leverage a Senate run in California. Do you stand by that statement?
I only wish I had said more. Yeah, all of that is true. Adam prejudged this investigation before we interviewed the first witness, and he's been on television more than you have.
Met with Trump in New York at some point after the 2013 Miss Universe
yes,
pageant.
Absolutely, and she got compromising materials on Trump after their short relations.
Okay, and what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
Okay. And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course. Buzova shared those materials with Sobchak, and Sobchak shares those materials with Putin because she's a goddaughter of Putin, and Putin decided to press on Trump.
And the materials that you can provide to the committee or to the FBI, would they corroborate this allegation?
Sure, of course. When they were in Ukraine, we got their conversation by the phone where they discussed those compromising materials. We are ready to provide it to FBI.
So you have recordings of both Sobchak and Buseva where they're discussing the compromising material on Mr. Trump?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to come back. We'll get a response. That was a fellow House Intel Committee member, Shiftless Schiff, literally thinking he's talking to a Russian, getting compromising information on Donald Trump, even naked pictures that Vladimir Putin had seen. It turned out to be a total hoax. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll continue. 800-941-SEAN is our number. Straight ahead.
Many of the bureaucracies here in Washington know how to wait out Congress. They know to try to plan meetings on a Friday when they know there's not votes, or on a Monday when there's not votes. That's the time that they want to give things. They wait. They know that Congress is going to adjourn next week, and so the more that they delay for no reason, we're waiting on many documents, as you know. We're getting very slow, snail-paced cooperation that is clearly designed to wait until next week when Congress adjourns. Now, I have news for them. They're still going to get to come in and give depositions. They may think they're not going to, but they're going to be coming in to give depositions throughout the summer, and that's part of the 42 names that I sent to Chairman Gowdy and Chairman Goodlatte. So I have every expectation that there will be many opportunities for these 42 individuals to come to Congress, even though they have tried to wait us out. And I think they'd love to see Republicans lose. And I say that, I hate to say that, but I have to believe the Department of Justice and FBI, the people at the leadership, they are banking on a loss by the Republicans in the fall, which is why people have to understand how important it's going to be to get out and vote in this election to ensure that the members of Congress are returned that are actively involved to ensure, because if the Democrats get control, they're going to drop all of this investigation.
Toll free, our number is 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Apparently, along with the phony dossier, there are other materials that absolutely have been, that will so devastate the process in terms of corroborating the lie to the FISA court judges in the applications to get a warrant to spy on a Trump campaign associate in the lead-up to the 2016 campaign. We're hearing rumors all over the place that this information, corroborated by emails, could be coming out as early as next week. And if it does, I am told it will blow a lot of this Russia lie narrative out of the water, and it will cause America to take a deep look at whether or not we have equal justice under the law, whether or not the warrant system for FISA was abused at a level we've never seen before. And joining us to talk and discuss about all this is the House Intel Committee Chairman, Devin Nunes. Mr. Chairman, before the break, I played you a phone conversation of a colleague of yours He's on TV an awful lot, Adam Schiff, and he's not exactly been kind to you in public comments. And he is talking to somebody he believes to be a Russian that has compromising materials on Donald Trump, including naked pictures that even Vladimir Putin had seen. It turns out that he was totally hoaxed in this call, but the whole call sounds to me an awful lot like the collusion that Robert Mueller is supposed to be getting to the bottom of.
Yeah, bingo. So it's a typical double standard, right? So they created a whole investigation made out of a whole cloth that somehow Donald Trump was colluding with Russians, using a dossier that was actually generated from Russians that the Clinton campaign paid for. So they should start there, investigate the Clinton campaign on getting information and compromise from the Russians. And then they ought to turn around. If you look at what the Democrats on our committee have done, and probably in the Senate also, they were also reaching out to Russians to get dirt on Trump. I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, look, collusion, none of this is a crime, getting dirt on your political opponents. I mean, it happens all of the time. But the whole idea that they'd investigate the Trump campaign for supposedly being in bed with Russians when the reality was they were. And it kind of fits.
But they were in two different ways. I mean, that phone call, doesn't that just capture for all the discussion and talk and media about a meeting that took place at Trump Tower about Russian adoption, had nothing to do with any information being transferred about Hillary Clinton, and it's been made such a big deal of. And then we've got Adam Schiff on the committee, thinking that he's getting dirt directly from Russia about Donald Trump, and he's salivating at the thought of it. What is the difference?
Well, whatever the left accuses you of doing, I have a rule. That's what they're doing. So the fact that they were accusing the Trump campaign and feeding to the FBI that Trump was doing something wrong with the Russians, the reality was they were doing something with the Russians. They were attempting to get information from the Russians. Well, they did get information from the Russians. It was fake and phony. But also, you mentioned this, not enough has been paid attention to this Trump Tower meeting. And everybody, the media continues to gloss over this. Let's not forget, did Trump Trump's, I forget, it was Donald Jr., did he agree to have a meeting to try to get information on Hillary Clinton? Yeah. Well, guess what? Not a crime. It's not a crime at all. It happens all the time.
Isn't that what Adam Schiff is doing?
And it's what Adam Schiff is doing if you listen to the call you just played. But people are forgetting this major point about this, Sean. The person that met in the Trump Tower, this Russian lawyer who was there to lobby on behalf to get rid of the Magnitsky Act, is a client of who? Fusion GPS. GPS working for Russians.
And didn't they meet with this woman both before and after the meeting at Trump Tower?
Before and after, and I'll tell you, they've denied that they ever talked to and I'm talking about Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS said, they didn't know nothing about it. They didn't know anything about it. Well,
you believe them?
Does anybody actually believe that?
I don't.
I mean, it's impossible. I mean, one of their Russian clients is meeting the very same day before and after. They have a meeting before and after, and we're supposed to believe that there was no connection.
Just by accident, yeah. Well, right. let me ask.
Look, this is the problem. Yeah. This is where the investigation should be, and this is why we have such a hard time with this. Why there needs to either be a second special counsel or somebody investigating this. If we actually had all the tools of the FBI, you would quickly get to the bottom of who was Fusion GPS working for, who was paying Fusion GPS.
Well, we already know the money was paid for by Hillary. It was funneled through the law firm Perkins Coie. Fusion GPS hired Christopher Steele. He used Russian contacts. That created a dossier. That was spread as gospel truth, and it was all done to misinform the American people and influence an election. It was filled with Russian lies, which is ironic considering what's been going on as it relates to the Trump campaign. And even Steele himself, in an interrogatory in Great Britain, said that it was raw intelligence, maybe 50-50 that it would ever be true. But yet they were disseminating it, and we learned in the Washington, either the Free Beacon or the Times in the last week, that in fact Christopher Steele was meeting regularly with the top people in the Clinton campaign who had paid for all of this.
Right. And that's what's going to continue to – this is going to continue to unravel, and that's the sad part about it, is that this really needs to be investigated. I mean, you clearly had one campaign that was colluding with Russians. Likely these Russians that they were getting this information from probably are tied back to oligarchs that have ties back to the FSB. I mean, if you want to get to the heart of Russian collusion and how they were – I mean, what if this really was the dirt on Trump actually was created and crafted by the FSB?
You know, the most exculpatory evidence, though, when you think about it, comes directly from Comey's mouth when he says, well, Trump said to me that, well, I wasn't involved with anything Russian, but if anyone around me was, we need to look into that. I got to let you go. You've been very generous with your time. Is there a good chance we might learn about all this stuff next week? It's beginning to percolate from a lot of my sources in D.C.
Well, like I said, there's all the reason in the world to declassify these 20 pages, and there's all the reason in the world also to declassify the Bruce Orr 302s. The sooner it's done, the better. The more transparency, the better for the American people.
All right, you've been amazing in all of this, and I know you've taken a lot of heat for it. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, we appreciate your time. We're starting a new segment on the program today. It's our Made in America series, and we have with us Jamie Oberwager, who is a founder and owner of a great company that is based here in the States, and they make all these healthy snacks, of which I tried some this week. And Jamie is an entrepreneur, widely successful in a short amount of time, a little over 2 years. And Jamie, welcome to the program. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's talk about, you have a product that is called Lucky Bar, and there's different, I guess it's a mom-to-go secret weapon that has the protein of 2 eggs in it, and it's delicious and it's healthy. Explain.
Thank you so much. Lucky Bars were derived from my youngest child, who really struggled with mealtime, period. And it wasn't because we didn't try to give him other foods. He just had such an aversion to most foods. He would put his hands over his mouth and make gagging sounds and wipe his tongue, and he needed protein desperately. So
you came up with these Lucky. Well, let me tell you something. So Linda's been eating them all week. Linda's in love with your Lucky Bar.
I don't know if I like the way you said that. You made me sound like a little piggy there.
No. You've been eating them all week.
As a good mother, I try everything before my son eats it. So it was my due diligence.
Well, but the truth is, it's great that it's made in America. Jamie, I love that. And kids do need the nutrition. And, they don't need. My son, when he was young, only ate pasta with butter. That's it.
That's right. We call those empty belly fillers.
Yeah.
And kids love the empty belly fillers, the plain pasta, the chips. And,
By the way, I love pasta with butter, but go ahead.
But as parents, we want to give them the taste and the textures that they're familiar with, but we want to eliminate that quote-unquote bad stuff that we would prefer to keep off their plate. And so that's part of what makes Lucky Bar so important.
How many, in 2 years, you built this product, and Lucky Bars have more protein than 2 large eggs in every kid-sized bar. It's high in protein, low in sugar, and it tastes great, although I would know more if I had some because Linda stole them all.
Wait, can I just say one thing? I know that you hate when I interrupt you, Sean, but I have to say this one thing.
And you stole all of them. Go ahead.
So I gave one to my son, who is a super picky eater. He just turned 3, and he loved them. First of all, he's in love with the packaging. It's easy for him to open. And then we had a sales guy on the floor today who brought his 3-year-old to work, and he sat in my office and he ate a whole bar while watching cartoons in my office this morning. And I just thought, man, these things are really great.
Yeah, can I just say something? Listen, if Linda's son, Liam, likes it, that's probably the best sign you have.
It's a victory lap for sure.
But imagine Linda at 3. That's what Liam is.
Very nice, Sean. Very nice.
He even has the accent already.
Shh. No, he doesn't. Not yet.
First of all. No, but I mean, so 2 years, how many have you gone from selling in a 2-year period of time? It went from what to what?
Well, it went from zero to now we're actually sold in over 2,000 retail locations all across America, as well as online. And our goal is to continue to be number one in mom's mind when she's looking for fun, delicious, nutritious food for her family.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back more with our Made in America series. Jamie Oberweger is with us. We'll get more on the other side. 800-941-SEAN, our toll-free telephone number. As we continue with Jamie Oberweger as part of our Made in America series, how many people do you employ now?
Well, we have a team actually at the bakery as well as a small business team. But we are very much in support of creating jobs all across America to enable the distribution and the continuation of putting Lucky Bar into the hands and bellies of kids everywhere.
So in other words, like instead of grabbing chips and candy bars and all the crap that we usually eat, you basically have designed a nutritious, protein-filled, low-sugar product that kids love to eat in different flavors, and it's just taken the market by storm. And it's probably hard to add because you have drivers that transport it, you have factories that make it, you have people that package it, you have business people as well. So I'm sure it's hard to calculate, but you've created a lot of jobs in the process, and now 2,000 locations around the country. You also sell it online, right? I mean, did you ever think it would get this big?
Well, you know what? I always had faith that with hard work, despite the risk of going out on my own, that I was being led down the right path to do that and help my child and children of other families all across America. So I had faith that this would happen. You know, the truth of the matter is that kids have their own tastes and preferences and nutritional needs, and we like to celebrate the way they're different from adults, not just in their palate, but even the way they eat.
Got to run here, but I actually did try one of them, and it was amazing, and I think it's such a great idea, and a lot of, 30% of kids are like picky eaters, and I was one of them as a kid. My son was, my daughter was not. But now he eats healthier than everybody I know. So it's luckybar.com is the website, and it's, in 2,000 locations around the country. It's such a great success story, and it's made in America. It's called Lucky Bar, the nutritional alternative for your kids. And good job. We're really proud of you. And thanks for joining us, Jamie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jamie. Luckybar.com.
Why did you steal every one of them? You stole them all.
I'm hungry. You don't give us lunch break.
I buy your lunch every single freaking day.
But I have no
what are you
time
talking
to
about?
Eat it.
Well, you buy gross stuff anyway. It's orange or puke green or whatever you eat. It's disgusting.
Well, now I eat Lucky Bars, so you're welcome.
At least it's a normal food for once.
See that?
Everybody looks at your food and says, that's so disgusting. What are you eating?
No, you look at my food and say it's so disgusting. Everyone else just says, have a nice lunch.
No, everybody agrees with me, but they're intimidated by you, and I'm not. There's a big difference.
Yeah, right. That's a vicious rumor.
Republicans just passed the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. And the Democrats want to lift them way up. Remember that when you go to vote, they want to end your tax cuts and they want to lift it up so they can waste your money on a lot of nonsense. You've heard this, but I'm going to say it over and over because I'm really proud of it. Remember I said, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? African Americans, so many others. I said, what do you have to lose?